Hello guys, welcome to my channel Artem moved to Greece, and I was translating videos from my old channel in my native language, and in this video I will show what kind of prices for rent you could find in Athens in 2024. It was about May 2024. It's very interesting to compare the prices now and then. Let's have a look together. Today in Athens, May 17th, the weather is unusual once again. We've had Sahara dust covering the city for the second day in a row. These dust particles travel from North Africa and create heavy clouds over Athens. I went out this morning and picked up some cucumbers, 5 pieces for just 80 cents. Nearby there is a small tree in full bloom, unaffected by the weather. This Sahara dust is not only a visual problem, it can also affect health. That's why it's important to keep windows closed and take precautions, especially for people who have respiratory issues and older people. In this video, however, I'll continue focusing on the rental market in Athens. I'll be showing you two apartments, and by the end, you'll also learn about a property with an astonishing price of 6,000 euros. It really surprised me. And I think it will surprise you too. When I filmed my previous video, I showed some street scenes, including abandoned furniture. A week later, the same items are still lying there, with even more garbage added around them. Waste often remains in Athens for a very long time, sometimes months or even years. One thing that really stands out when living in Athens is how the city manages public spaces. For example, in Amsterdam I pay around 500 euros per year in city tax, and part of that goes toward keeping the streets clean and well maintained. Here in Athens, there is no such city tax, which means the system works differently. As a result, sometimes you'll notice that trash or old furniture can stay on the streets for weeks, even months. It's not always pleasant, but it's a part of everyday life here. And the same thing can sometimes happen with rental apartments. Not every place is freshly renovated or spotless, yet the prices can still be surprisingly high. That's exactly why I keep exploring, to show you both the good and the not so good sides of the Athens rental market, so you can get the full picture. Now, speaking of apartments, in my last video I showed you one very unusual place. It was a ground floor apartment that honestly looked like it hadn't been taken care of in a long time. Yet, the rent for it was listed at 1,600 euros per month. When you see something like that, it really makes you think about how unusual the Athens rental market has become. Prices keep going up, and sometimes the condition of the apartments doesn't match the amount being asked. It's one of the big reasons I decided to keep documenting this viewing, to show you what's really happening here on the ground. Hello friends, I'm really glad you are here watching this video. If you find the information useful, don't forget to like and subscribe. It really helps my channel to grow in the YouTube algorithm. In my videos, I often share not only my own experiences, but also interesting things I discover along the way. For example, you might be surprised to hear this. A one-way ticket from Athens to New York on May 30-31st is currently showing for just 95 euros on Skyscanner, with a new budget airline called landlords. Of course, life in Athens is not as dramatic as it sometimes seems. Otherwise, I wouldn't keep coming back here again and again. Since we're still getting to know each other, let me quickly introduce myself. My name is Artem, or Artemis, as it would be in Greek. I travel across Europe and share my experiences on this channel. You'll find videos from Latvia, the Netherlands, Germany, Italy, Greece, Spain, and even Bulgaria. So, if you are interested, subscribe and check them out. I'd be happy to see you as a regular viewer. One of the things I really enjoy about life in Athens is the local market. The prices there are usually very reasonable, and the food is fresh and seasonal. Stay with me until the end of this video. I'll show you what I picked up at the market today. By By the way, I also run another channel called Artemis Traveling, where I've uploaded many walking videos around Greek markets as well. Right now, I'm in the Kallithea neighborhood, popular area for Russian-speaking residents of Athens. It wasn't really a plain choice for me, but simply because I found an available short-term apartment here. In fact, this is my second time staying in the same place in Kallithea, which feels almost like a small museum. To be honest, I personally prefer the southern suburbs of Athens, closer to the sea, but today I'm going to see another apartment, number 115 on my list. And yes, it's also here in Kallithea. On the way, I can already see how fresh everything looks at the market. Even zucchini are in season now. Life at a Greek market is always lively. It feels like everyone is trying to outshout each other, but that's also part of the charm. By the way, here's an interesting fact about Greece. It's one of the few countries where, if I'm not mistaken, around 14% of the population has never used the internet at all. No social networks, no email, no browsing. In a way, it feels like they are still living in the late 20th century. And to be honest, I think this is one of the reasons I keep coming back to Greece. There's something about this slower pace of life, this simplicity, that really appeals to me. Of course, sometimes it can be also tiring, like the endless construction and renovation noises you hear in Athens. It's definitely one of the city's trademarks. And walking down the streets here, you even need to stay alert. Sometimes people toss out old furniture or something might fall from a rooftop. Life here is never boring, but it also means there's hardly time for sadness or depression. Now, let's take a look at the first apartment I'm visiting today. It's in Kallithea, not far from where I am staying right now, on Sappho Street number 106. I'd call this the more central part of Kallithea. Nearby there is a little supermarket and the Mikel coffee shop that I have visited several times. Like most of Athens, Kallithea is full of small cafes, restaurants, family-owned shops and plenty of spaces where you can also grab souvlaki. Actually, there is one across the street and another right next door. And of course, there are many churches here too, and they can be quite loud. Now, if the sky looks grey behind me, it's not because of rain. For the second day in a row, the air has been filled with dust particles from the Sahara Desert. They block out the sun and make the city feel unusually dim. And just as I'm saying that, it actually started raining. So yes, some of those clouds were real. Hopefully, the rain will help clear the air a bit and make it easier to breathe. For me personally, Attiki, the peninsula where Athens is located, really feels like the place with the best climate. Imagine this, about 330 sunny days a year and nearly 9 months that feel like a summer. That's something very hard to find anywhere else in Europe. Now, let me tell you about today's apartment viewing. I came to the address listed in the ad, but honestly, the building didn't look very appealing from the outside. On one side, here was a tattoo studio, and next to it, just a regular apartment entrance. I waited about 5 minutes for the agent to arrive, but no one showed up. My message wasn't even read. According to the ad, the rent was 650 euros per month, with all bills included. But just by looking around, it did not feel very inviting, especially since on the floor above, it seemed like no one was living there either. Open windows, empty apartments. It did not leave the best impression. Still, this is the reality of Athens in 2024. 650 euros for a very basic apartment. What do you think about that? Let me know in the comments below. After waiting 10 minutes, I realized no one was going to come. To be honest, it was the first time in all my apartment viewings that the landlord or agent simply didn't show up. It makes you wonder. Yes, the apartment is expensive for what it is, but at the same time, the bigger question remains, where should I live? I already know which neighborhoods in Athens I prefer, and there are some areas where I definitely wouldn't want to move, like Kipseli or Patisia. So if nothing works out for me here in Athens, I'll have to consider other options. Maybe moving back to Riga or going back to Amsterdam, where I still have an apartment. The challenge is that living alone in Amsterdam is very costly, and I probably need to share the apartment again with a flatmate. And truthfully, the Netherlands never felt like home to me. Of course, it can be a fantastic place to live and work if everything is going well and you have a good salary. But in my case, life there turned out to be very difficult. That's a story I'll save for another video. Out of all the apartments I've checked in Athens over the past 2 weeks, I finally reached the last one on my list. While waiting to see it, an unexpected rain shower started, and honestly, when it rains in Athens, the city does not look its best. Everything feels a bit gloomy. I've been here for 2 weeks, and I remember that back in May it used to be sunny, around 30 degrees from late April onward. This year, though, it's only 20-24 of Celsius, and rain has been quite frequent. After about 3 p.m., the little local market starts picking up. The apartment I'm about to see is also in Kallithea, on Athena Street, but it's all the way at the very end of Kallithea, closer to the Stavros near Hosaria. You could say it's on the edge of the neighborhood. The building itself has small balconies on the backside, but none facing the street. Apparently, it used to be abandoned until some Israelis restored it and converted it into 15 apartments building. I've been inside this building before. One unit on the semi-basement level has just two tiny windows for the entire apartment. Honestly, it feels more like a prison cell. But the truth is, there aren't many alternatives in Athens right now. Apartments like this go for around 550 a month. Take a look at that view from the window. I've seen several units priced between 550 and 570, and honestly, this is pretty much all that's on the market at the moment. Dear friends, I've been reflecting a lot, and I'm truly grateful that you've watched my videos, that we've explored apartments together, traveled across Europe, discovered different countries, and seen how people live in other places. It's been such a great experience to share all of this with you. For the past 2 years, I've been making videos for you, and your support means so much. But now it feels like the time has come to decide where I really want to settle. The choices comes down to two options: Athens, Greece, or Riga, Latvia. Since you watched until the very end, here's the promised little shock from Athens. Just like in Spain, landlords here are now asking for several months' rent upfront. For example, for this 500 per month studio, they're asking for a full year in advance. That's 6,000 euros. On a lighter note, I also stopped by the market today. Bought a little over a kilogram of cherries for 5 euros and some cherry tomatoes, maybe for 700 grams for 1.5 euros. Simple, everyday life in Athens. Thank you so much for your support. Really, it means quite a lot to me. If you liked the video, please put a like and subscribe to my channel if you haven't subscribed yet. Hope to see you again.